picked up in the middle of combat with the paladin blind and wandering around, but still kicking the ass of the orc in front of him. But having trouble with the guys behind him, that was the main problem, shooting arrows and launching shit at him. The spell chucker behind him even. The barbarian was putting on a daring hold of the other tunnel, which was the only reason we didn't get swallowed up in the very first couple of rounds of combat in that, because the amount of damage that guy can take is outstanding. We then decided that this was going to go bad in many ways. I pulled out the last-ditch effort of pulling what I thought was a war orc leader and casting a spell on him, making him a friend, then convincing him that Ceres Kryn was fucking him over, and that I was a friend of Red Bull.
Yeah.
Stargat the Red Bull. Yeah.
Stargat the Red Bull. Which then sent him and pulled 3 other orcs out of the combat, which, again, I think also helped save our bacon, because I grabbed that guy. And they went off to charge and kick his ass, which we heard later was going badly for him, but we did not see or hear him after that. I finally decided that we were screwed, and we were going to all die in that tunnel if something didn't happen. So I made the call, even though I'm not really the war leader of this party, or a leader at all of this party, and decided that we should get out, and started yelling for retreat, of which everybody did then follow along and start to get out. Does Stargat have wings?
So, guys,
No.
I have a fucking hummingbird in the living room.
Oh, wow.
Really?
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, so I've got to help Anka get it out.
All right. Okay.
So
We'll see it. We'll see
Hey,
you
some
come back.
people pay good money for that. All right.
I'm sure you would. It's pretty cool,
It-
actually, but he keeps trying
it's good luck.
against the window.
It's good luck. So, we then bailed out and got out of the tunnel. Donnie then, for all he was worth in making us look amazing down in the tunnel, then opened his mouth and made enemies for us with the captain by calling him a coward. And then and so, as much cool points as we gained, we just immediately threw them, back down the tunnel. We then went outside, and everybody was beaten, bruised, and worn out. So the majority of the party decided to go back to the Crown, what's that called? The bar they're staying at.
You want the King's Cross? I think it is.
King's Crown.
King's Crown.
The King's Crown.
I can never get it straight.
King's Crown. And so they went back to there, but because I was beaten and Rin was beaten badly, I decided to take Rin back to his mom so that we could get healing. But along the way, we found out we were being tailed. In all of my stealthy thiefiness, I pulled off at a corner and let Flash go on ahead to try and draw him out so I could get a shot at him. And that didn't work. We spotted each other at the same time. I decided that there was now or never, and basically challenged him and charged. We ended up into a very one-for-one kind of battle with a little dodging and parrying in the process. And at the last second, I missed a crucial shot, which then he took advantage of and shivved me to death. And then Flash, with his cool I could see around corners maneuver, shot him while he was running away, bursting him into flames, falling into a pile of straw, setting off another section of town on fire. Of which then he came over and stabilized me, and we got me up and moving, and we went and put him out and stole some really great thiefy items for me at this level, and then we left before somebody accused us of trying to burn down more sections of the town tonight, and,
Which you have been guilty of.
Which, yeah, we were guilty of twice. And then we headed off and got the healing from his mom, of which then I got scolded for trying to get him killed again.
That's right.
And session end.
Nice. All right.
Turning this camera off before my computer freezes up again.
All right. It's just me and you, Flash, now. All right. So, let's see. So we're actually going to, and I should have done this and given you guys the time, but we'll take a few minutes to kind of decide how you want to do this. 2 entire weeks pass, where each of you guys are heading off, sort of doing your own things again. So I'll start first with, who wants to volunteer? Like, who knows right up front, like, what they want to be doing?
I do.
Ditto.
Okay. All right, we'll start with Jal. What do you spend? Like, do you spend both weeks doing the same thing or something different? You know, downtime activities. It's kind of what I'm thinking, like the Xanathar's Guide. Like, you might be carousing, you might be working, you might be, like, doing something as part of the church. You know, like, what are you doing?
Well, I want to try and work with Flash to research the 5 blades of Korask, and then with the rest of my time, I want to pursue those 2 hot little honeys that keep running off because Donnie scares them to death.
All right. Okay.
You're welcome.
It's that winning
I also
smile,
know what
Don.
I want to do. I have like 3 things that I want to do.
Okay, we'll get to you. I'll get to each of you in turn. So, are you also doing the same thing then, Flash? Are you both doing this for, like, kind of like double the chance, or I'll ask you that before we get to him.
I was also going to research the. Crap! Now I got to look at my character sheet again. Damn it! Hold on.
That site.
The Dream Singer.
Okay. All right. Let's see. So you're looking up the 5 blades of Korask kind of broadly, Jal, and Rin, you're interested specifically in this thing called Dream Singer, whatever it is.
But I figure I can do both. Shouldn't be too hard, I wouldn't think. I have access, so.
So Jal, I mean, do you sit with Rin at the library pouring over books?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, he knows what he's doing. I haven't got a clue.
All right. So generally speaking, we'll just kind of. I'm not going to spend a lot of time getting into the little teeny details, but for 1 week of research and roughly 50 gold worth of materials, bribes, gifts, and other expenses. Maybe you just slip somebody a little cash to kind of help you navigate the library. Although even so, what I will do is give you a free +1 bonus for both of you because of Flash's. I think you have, what is it called? Library access.
Yes, it is library access.
Okay. So you can spend for your research, and this is individual, so mind you, you can spend up to an additional 100 gold for additional bonuses where you're basically spending cash to get help and all that kind of stuff. You can spend up to 500 in this case, if you want, for each bit on like how when you make this roll, how much bonus you get for it. So how much do you want to spend? Do you want to just go with the 50 apiece and get the +1, or do you want to spend some more?
Does Jal's fame come into any account here? He would be in a library of people who would be interested in his story. He is the hot new ticket in town. I mean, he is the.
Yeah, I might give you a 25% discount. If you spend 100, it would only be 75. If you spend 200, it would only be 150. So, sure.
Okay. I've got a 50 gold piece gem that I'm going to invest in this. And that's gone off the sheet. And let me see how much money I've got. Sometime when we do a get together where we divvy up spoils. I've still got that 50 gold pieces from the captain that we were to be paid for our looking for the food thing. Okay. So if I put another 25 gold, that's the same thing as 100, right? Because
Yep.
it's a 25% discount. Okay. Let me do that. Ba-ba-bum. And I've got enough to buy another healing potion, so I'm good. Okay, I'm gonna invest 100. So 50 plus an additional 50.
So you're going to spend how much in total?
100 total, 50 for the initial, and then another 50, and that's all the money I can spend.
All right, I'll give you a total with the bonus that he can provide, meaning Rin. I'll give you a total of a +2 bonus
Okay.
to the roll. Now, you can benefit from. I'll say that you. Okay, here's how we're going to handle this. And you're spending your week pretty much in research as well, right? That's kind of how you're spending your primary time, Flash.
Yep.
Okay, so you may make, because he's helping you, Jal, you may make an intelligence, or if you are trained in it and have investigation, which I doubt you do, but if you have it, you may make an investigation roll.
I do not.
And you may do so with advantage because he's helping you.
Okay, so it's an intelligence.
Yes.
Alrighty. God help me. -1.
Well,
All right.
you're gonna add 2 to it after the result comes out, though. Remember, you do this with advantage.
Okay. Banzai. Oh boy.
That's not bad, actually.
Well, it's a 10.
Okay,
Actually,
here's what you.
It's a 12.
It's a 12.
Here's what you learn. You learn that the 5 blades of Korask were created by the barbarians of Rizia, which is further up in the Thilranian Peninsula, like the Kruski, the Fruitsy. So as an example, like you've probably spent a little time talking to Rajik. Rajik may be half-orc, but he was raised among the Frusti people, which are the frost barbarians. There's the Kruski and the Shnai, and those are like the ice and they're often called the ice barbarians or the snow barbarians. Rizia is like in there, and that's basically where the 5 blades of Korask were created. The 5 blades each have a name. Also, and this lore is fairly recent, like within the last maybe 50 to 100 years. The accounts are somewhat difficult because Tenh, what lore exists in Tenh. There's not a lot of open trade, and there is a lot of either hostility or suspicion between the people of Tenh and anybody who might come streaming out of the Thunder Pass, which would include the people of Stonehold or anyone else up there, which would be just about everybody from the Thilranian Peninsula. There had been some trade, maybe in the last 100 years, between the people of Tenh and the Frusti, mainly through the Rushmores, or kind of around that area of Tenh. Like there would be some overland trade there, not through the Thunder Pass, because generally to get through there, those barbarians would have to also come onto the lands of Stonehold or the Stonefists. So obviously all that's changed in the last year when those bastards all came pouring down out of the pass. But that's kind of where a lot of your information comes from. Merchants and traders who told tales and were captured by the bards of the people of Tenh. And it was kind of classified as like not, it's not Tenh lore, so they don't do as good of a job of keeping track of it, honestly. The people of Tenh are somewhat insular. They're Flanish, they're old school. They really kind of consider themselves to be the real people. Everybody else is kind of like a bunch of assholes, in their thoughts. Anyway, the 5 blades of Korask, there is a name for each of the 5 blades, and they translate. So let me find it here. You learn each of the 5 names, as well as this brief history, which I've kind of told you about. Let's see. The one that immediately comes to mind that you're immediately sort of like, huh, and it's perfectly described as far as the physical description of it, is the Edge. The Edge is one of the 5 blades of Korusk.
He's in
He's
in U2?
He's not. No, he's not. He's
There's
not
a
a member.
guitar.
He's not a member of U2. No. What the sword was famed to potentially be able to do was to fire like darts or daggers from the pommel of the sword in the hands of someone who knew how to wield it. And it's perfectly described, like in such exquisite detail that you're like, yeah, that's exactly what's going on with the sword. Another one of the 5 blades was called, it translated into the Flanish tongue or the common tongue as Stalker, and it is described as like a long sax sort of design with a blue steel blade, hilt, pommel, and crosspiece of black adamantite. And legend had it, which when I say legend, I mean they call it legend, even though it's not like from a long time ago, just because it isn't necessarily believable, but was described by these merchants carrying these legends to have like wisps of like shadow stuff that would sort of appear to like steam from the blade. What's interesting about this, actually, make a perception test. It'd probably be a perception test, Mike, for your character. Okay, never mind. Okay. The third blade was another sort of long sax or like a short sword design, single-edged, called Harmonizer. And it was described also as having etchings upon the surface of what looked like a master of the arcane arts,
Goofy.
sort of performing a ritual over 5 swords.
What are you doing?
Let's see.
Somebody love me.
The fourth. Just a moment here. We gotta find it again.
Yep. Follow me to the door. I'm so cute. You should follow me to the door. Yep.
Oh, here we go.
Hey, go outside.
Shoot. What did I do with it? Hang on. Oh, there we go. The fourth was called Green Swath. And it was mentioned that the blade appeared to have like a gold-colored alloy that was mentioned. It was said to be as hard as adamantine. And the fifth was designed very out of character for the people of the Thilranian Peninsula. It was described as more of like a basket-hilted like broadsword, or maybe even like a rapier, and it was called Dream Singer.
Really? Okay.
Wait, what was that? What was it again? I missed the first part of that.
I said it was it was listed as, it was kind of described as like a basket-hilted broadsword or rapier, and had a blade of white steel, platinum filigree crosspiece and pommel set with moonstones, very specifically described, and it was called Dream Singer.
That's very interesting.
Okay.
Yep. There's some description or there's some hint that there's like some destiny around these weapons, like that they are somehow greater than, like the sum is greater than, or they together are greater than the sum of their parts individually. Although the word that is used doesn't translate well, and the word in this other language, which you come to understand is like Sul, which I don't think you speak it, do you?
I do not.
Okay. The word would be, the best translation would be doom. So there's like a doom associated with these swords.
Okay.
Well, that doesn't sound good. That's not a good thing.
Great.
The names, just so you know, the original names, and I'm gonna write them here into. Let me find it. Okay, I'm gonna write this. Oh, dang it! What happened here? Oh, I've got the. Let me move this off to the side. Okay, so the actual name in ancient Sulois for the edge is called Zotat. The one that's called Green Swath is called Verkaren. Dream Singer is the translation of the Sulois word, which means Terdenjo.
Turnenjo?
Terdenjo.
Turd ninja.
Turd ninja. That's right.
Means to fist.
Harmonizer is the original, in the original language. It was Ilayev,
They sound
and then
Russian.
the blade known as Stalker is actually called Larandenjo.
Or maybe Slavic.
So those are the actual like original names of each of the blades, and
Okay.
they have some doom associated with them. That is all you learn. What are you laughing about?
Nothing.
Okay, Flash. Do you spend any more cash on your research?
Sure, I'll drop 50. A biddy.
Okay, I'll give you the same thing then. You get an effective +2 to your roll. Unfortunately, you don't get advantage. He's not really able to help you much.
Ugh, useless.
Just roll a 20.
Yeah. So what am I rolling? I do have investigation. I also have history.
You may roll investigation
Okay.
or history. Oh my
Bam!
God!
Bang!
Oh, here's the
All
book
right.
on it.
All right.
I found the user manual.
Yeah. Tells me exactly what it is and where it is.
Okay.
Do I get some GPS coordinates with that?
Oh shit! It's in my backpack. I
Yeah.
forgot I had it.
Oh,
Hey,
it's in the tower.
You're rifling through the book and it just kind of falls out of it.
Hey.
Hey guys, I got the sword. What do you know? I was just trying to find something about it, and there it is.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Hey, this sword's hanging over the mantle at my house.
Hey.
I had it all along. Who
Yeah.
knew? All right. So you learn all the same things that he learned, or that Jal learned as he's been researching this week. And
you found it for him.
okay. So sorry, that's 1 week for each of you that you've learned so far. So here's the thing: you've run out of, your stay. Unfortunately, Jal has sort of run out at the King's Cross. You're going to have to spend more money now, and you haven't been working, so you're going to have to spend money to stay at pretty swanky accommodations.
That's okay. How much is it going to cost me for a week?
I think it's like 5 a day, probably. So 35 gold a week to stay there.
Okay. Let me take that off.
Now, here's what else you learn. So you find it interesting, of course, that Dream Singer seems to show up. That somehow I'm trying to think. How do I want to handle this? You don't have like observant or anything like any feat like that, do you?
No, that's me.
Right.
Nope.
Okay. Well, you know what? That roll in and of itself is good enough. I'm going to throw an extra bone at you or to you here. So you find
Scotty's
it.
already carrying one.
Yeah. Go fetch smoke. So you find it a bit suspect that Nystel would have left that laying around on his desk, and yet I mean, in the course of your discussion, you clearly find out not only why are we searching for the five blades of Chorus, because you've already Jal has one of these things, and how did he get it? And like he's talked a little bit about like going back to the Dogs of War and the guy that he talked to, I think it was Chell or something like that. Like never, like nobody knows who he was. Like nobody believes there is a sergeant at arms that even like that's even a member of that company, and yet like he just pulled this item out of the armory and gave it to Jal. Like that all just seems
So
highly.
I'm thinking it was Nystel.
You don't know, but I mean, yeah,
He
possibly.
the guy also bought a crap load of armor and weapons from us.
So here's the deal, that the legend that seems to be tied to Dreamsinger. Okay, you learn a little bit more about the legend around the five blades of Korosk. The only thing like when you hear Jal doing a little bit of reading, you guys are kind of sitting at some of the same tables with books piled everywhere, and you're kind of helping.
You are not going to believe this, Jal.
Right. Jal's like talking about like this doom, like he's like, what would that be? And then you're like, you find something in a book and you're like, you turn it around to have Jal look at it. Basically, it says that the five blades, when working together, will release the great ice god Vatun.
That doesn't sound good.
Awaken the sleeping god.
Yeah.
So that kind of just makes your little hairs on your arms kind of prickle a bit, right?
How do you spell the? Can you spell the god's name?
Vatun, Vatun.
T-U-N. Okay.
So beyond that, like okay, well, what's so special about this sword? So the legend around Dreamsinger is that if the swords become parted, Dreamsinger will find them.
Yes. No. Dayla's carrying out a fucking frying pan. So say that last. So say the last part again. That it can find the others. Is that what you said?
Yeah. Right.
Okay. All right.
Does your book say anything about Zotad in there?
Yeah, I'm totally looking for any of these other names since we're kind of now apparently searching for the same thing. His was a little more broad, mine was a little more narrow, but apparently it's the same thing.
Yeah, most of what you find remaining, it is some discussion about this sword called Dreamsinger. Evidently, it was always found in the hands of the scalds of the the Sul people, their version of the bards. And those that wielded it would have visions in their dreams primarily. And those things would help to lead them toward the other blades.
Interesting. All right. Well, obviously, I tell Jal, I'm like, I'm thinking that we should concentrate on, if we decide to go in search of these blades, we should concentrate on the history of Dreamsinger and who carried it last, and maybe we can narrow down where it could potentially be.
It seems to be the key. If you have that one, then you can find the other. Of course, we know where
Right.
one of them is. It's
Yeah. All right.
tap it on my hip.
Yeah.
So we kind of covered a week of what you guys have done. I'm gonna move on. Who's ready next to talk about what they're gonna do for the first week?
I got you.
All right.
Okay. I want to go talk to Hemshawn the poet.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, you find him usually somewhere around the Red Span, the Castle Red Span. I mean, he's generally around there somewhere, talking to diplomats. Try to convince them of courses of action. So he spots you, and he greets you. On the steps of Castle Red Span.
I give him a really loud or like a low bow. And I ask him, will you please meet me tonight for dinner at the King's Crown?
His curiosity seems piqued, and he says, "Oh, yes."
Okay. I bow again, and I go back to the King's Crown. Actually, no. I go to the what's the other bar?
Wink and a kiss.
Wink and kiss.
I go talk to Kulan.
Okay. I mean, you find him there. He's always there at his little table in the back. When you get there, you see he's doing business with a couple of people, and he sees you, and he just kind of like raises a finger to kind of like indicate, give me a couple minutes.
Okay.
And eventually you see them kind of wander out with an eager look on their face, and you hear him call from the back room, "Come on
in." I go sit down with him.
He's got his typical look, like nearly white hair, sort of just kind of combed back. He's got, a few little scars crisscrossing his face. One of them just under his eye. He's got another one kind of going down his neck.
Sure.
He's fit and trim, but he's probably, you don't know, somewhere between late 50s, maybe even early 60. I mean, he's surprisingly hale for a man his age. He gives you just a really like almost imperceptible smile as you sit down at the table.
Okay. I throw on the charm, and I say, "Kulan, you were so gracious with your last gift. Do you have any more work for me and my friends?"
He raises an eyebrow. And he says, "Was there anything particular that you were thinking of?"
Oh yes, definitely something that pays gold.
Okay then. He considers you in it for a moment, and he goes, "For you specifically, or for you and your friends?"
I would say me and my friends.
He steeples his fingers, and he says, "Well," he goes, "to be honest with you, the sort of business that I do has in some ways suffered a bit as of late, but also been a little profitable in other ways as well." He says,
Okay.
"I'll be honest with you, I made quite a bit of money off of your friend in the pits. The self-styled orc, or maybe he got that name from somebody else, I don't know. But to be honest with you," he says, "business could be a whole hell of a lot better if it wasn't for them." And he kind of hikes his thumb in a general direction that is kind of back at the wall. He's probably talking about those orcs outside.
How so?
He says, "There's no influx of merchants." He says, "including the sorts of custom that usually crosses my table."
Okay. I look at him and I say, I kind of lean back a little disappointed, and I say, I mean, that's an awfully big task. Something that does not pay in the now. Do you have anything else for me, Kulan?
He goes, I'll have to think about it. He goes, but since I know you're looking for work, he says, I'm sure I can find you something. He says, give me a week.
Okay. I tell him to, I don't tell him the room, but I do tell him that I'm staying at the King's Crown. And that if you need to get a hold of me, please leave it with the, what would you call them?
Order.
The keeper or yeah.
Okay.
And then I go back to the King's Crown and I, get fancied up for the dinner.
He stops you as you head out the door. He says,
okay.
There is something. He says, an interesting thing I heard. He goes, call it intel.
Okay.
He said there was a bit of a ruckus at the castle. He says, and I know that you have access to it. He goes, this was only a few days ago, mind you. He goes, but I heard that there was like maybe some sort of situation. The people say that something was taken, maybe from the Lord Captain.
Oh, yes?
He goes, I might pay for some information on that.
Okay. Well, it's a very big city, but I'll keep my ear out. And,
all right.
Okay.
He goes, and in fact, I'll pay for information in general. If you find anything of note, something I should know about. Something
okay.
And he goes, anything that can be used to turn a profit.
Of course. I know exactly what you mean.
You need to go plant that on somebody and
Good.
sell the information.
He says, and I don't even need to. It goes without saying that your discretion is highly appreciated.
You need to go.
I make the like a button, like I'm buttoning my lip, and then I don't say anything and I walk out.
Okay.
You need to go plant that on somebody and sell it. Sell the
I
information.
was just thinking about that. I was hoping that he was talking about until he said orc, I was hoping he was going to talk about somebody. And I was like, yes, I want to plant this.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Is it still pretty early in the day? Do I have some time?
I mean, we're talking about really quickly advancing through 1 week, and then we're going to do it again one more time before we, kind of.
Oh, okay.
Dive into the stuff. So I mean, we're not.
I'll do.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to go meet with him, Sean. Then, and I have one more thing.
Okay. Sure.
After that, this should be fairly quick.
Okay. All right. So yeah, you meet up with him for dinner at the King's Crown.
Yes. I pay for I take some money out of that gold I earned, and I pay for a pretty decent meal. And some very, one of their better wines. And I first ask, I say, you promised me that you would tell me about my father. And I leave it at that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he thinks on it a bit, and he goes, is your familiar, banging pots and pans in there?
Yes.
Yeah, so he starts to tell you some of the tales of your father, some of which you kind of heard through a few other people, like he evidently had some semi-famous exploits, but he tells you more of the side of your father that nobody else really knew, the kind of things that they don't talk about heroes and adventurers, that he was that he was a generally a good man, that he he was not without flaws, but that the two of them were friends and they traveled together in their youth, and they went on adventures together, although Hemshan downplayed his role in those things, and he evidently still sort of does.
Okay.
But your dad was generally a good guy, and he settled down in Tenh, but it wasn't necessarily the best of matches with his wife. They had a few daughters, and then when he left, he goes, I don't really know. He stopped talking about those, but when he came back, he was definitely a changed man.
Okay. So I let him go through the whole spiel, and I don't really say anything. And then I kind of get quiet for a second, and I say, "Did you know my mother?"
He says, no. No, I did not. He goes, I was aware of a man who brought you to your father, and I could describe him, but I didn't even really know his name. He goes, and I've never opened this letter, or I had never opened the letter that your father had me saved for you.
What did this man look like?
He says, he goes, you have traits, that really speak to your mother's heritage. And this man had many of those same traits. He goes, the boat people that ply the Artansame and the Neardev, all the way to the Neardev, those people, the Rene. He goes, he was a Rene man. He was probably middle-aged. He goes, I would say as old as I am now, and maybe even a bit older if he still lives.
Okay. I ask him. I say, were there other people? I mean, I can't imagine it was just you and my father that would go on these adventures. Do you know who else he went before he came home, or whoever he went with on these adventures before he came home?
Yeah, he names off a couple of other mainly guys. One he says was a soldier. He actually retired from the Tenha host. In his, probably in his 30s, and he joined your father, Castian, for many adventures. He goes, I only remember his last name, which was Croden.
Okay. Croden.
And he flew his men in the Tenha host flew his standard, which was the Battle Crows.
Fantastic. I write all of this down as he's saying it. And probably the other names that he gives me or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, he mentions a couple of others, but but he acts as if that was all long, long ago, and obviously the face of Tenh has changed, and who knows if any of those people still live.
Sure.
So, what else do you do? I mean, he doesn't really. He doesn't it seems like as he talks about those days, like a bit of a sadness kind of goes over him, and he kind of grows a bit quieter. Like he doesn't really talking about his own history so much.
Okay. Yeah. I don't want to push it, so come on, dude. I don't want to push it, so I let us, finish dinner in peace and continue with the drinks, and I reassure him that I will keep my my ears and eyes out for those books that he wants me, or from the College of Alator. Mm-hmm. What books were those again that were missing?
I think they're called the Scrolls of the Lawgiver.
Oh, okay. So yeah, that's pretty much what I tell him, and then I let him go on my way. And that the other thing I want to do, just don't worry about that. So that's it. That's all I wanted to do my first week.
Okay. Are you playing at the inn all week? Is that kind of what you're focused on?
Oh yeah. I mean, I've got that 250 gold that Kulan gave me. I'm just going to live my for the next week. I'd like to live decently.
Okay.
And,
make a let's see. Make a performance check for me.
Hold on just a second. Okay. No.
That's a good roll.
All right. Well,
that's pretty good.
Oh yeah, that's a real good roll.
Yeah, as much as is, as much as Edda performs really well and earns a lot of money, that money just goes right through her fingers. I mean, and she's basically kind of keeping pace, but not saving anything back at this point.
That's fine. I'll keep that 250 gold as my, I guess the only savings that I have. And while I have the opportunity to make money or, cut even, I will.
Okay. All right. And nothing else really of note happens that week. All right. Who's next? Don.
Yo,
What do you do for the first week or both weeks if you know what you're going to do?
yep, just two things. One, these bracers are amazing, and I would like to see if there's anything else in the city that I could find that do the same thing, because I'm not big on armor. I don't know what it all is. And then go to the pits and kick ass.
Okay.
This whole having an AC is amazing.
Yeah, right up until you decide to go reckless, and it really doesn't matter at that point.
Well, it still helps.
Yeah.
So I want to find me a ring. I'll be good. Then I'm gonna go kick some butt in the pits.
So you're looking for a very specific magic item, which would be something to protect you.
Yeah. Something to boost my AC, and then that's all.
All right. Now, in order to find a magic item, you almost have to spend money to grease palms and.
That's fine.
All right. So you're really looking at
And I'll
spending
throw-
about 100 gold pieces and a week's worth of effort just to see if there's anything there.
And I'll use John Mala's name everywhere I can.
All right. I'll give you a +1 on that. All right. All right. Let's see here.
Oh, hang on.
Okay.
Did you save the hummingbird?
We did save the hummingbird.
Got him out of the house.
That sucked. We've got like these 18-foot ceilings in our house. and there's
Right.
windows at the top. And so the hummingbird thinks, I'm gonna go as high as I can and escape right here. So Anka had me climb outside, tape sheets over the outside windows on the roof.
So that he wouldn't try to go through there.
Yeah. And finally, the damn thing just wore itself out and just fluttered to the ground, and I picked it up with my hand and carried it outside.
It just got tired.
It was
Yeah,
like,
I just tired.
All right. Well, until Donnie comes back, we'll move on to the next person. So, let's see.
I'm
I've
back.
got Sean. Okay. All right. So you're gonna hate me for this, but you got to make a persuasion test.
Persuasion test.
Yeah.
How about intimidation?
Probably not going to be useful for something like this. The kind of people who have magic items, if they have them, are not easily intimidated.
I'd take a friendly person with me to help.
Like whom?
The little
You're
sneaky
talking
guy.
you're talking about consuming his entire week. You'll have to ask Iona, do you want to help him?
Oh, it would take a whole week?
Yeah.
You wouldn't want to bring the most persuasive person you've ever met?
You've already spent your time, though, right?
He spent a
Well,
week.
I mean,
You could have him.
okay.
We could. I mean, I could. If he's willing to do it, he could spend the other week. And we'll just line that up where Edda tries to help you if you want to do that.
I'll make him some gold in the pits.
Oh yeah.
Are you willing to
Ed is
spend?
down for that?
Are you, okay. So all right. In that case, you don't necessarily get to roll yours with advantage, but he can roll, or Joe can roll the persuasion test with a +1.
Oh yeah, that'll be.
That's right, familiar rampage. He's like he either just doesn't like it when you're not paying attention to him, or
Get outta
Dad's
here.
talking and I want to help. Oh,
There we go.
nice. All right. Okay. Let's see here.
I don't want to pick you up.
He's just like.
You need to get this boy a jumpy seat or something.
Okay. All right. So while you're doing this for him, since he convinced you to help him, really that kind of frees you up, Don, since you're not going to be terribly good at this. But Ed is using your 100 gold pieces to do this find. Okay.
Sure.
So if you want to spend 2 weeks just beating people up in the pit, you can do that.
Sure.
While he does that work for you. Okay. So Edda, we're going to do your week 2 as well. So this is what you come up with for Rajic. You find that, and actually this is kind of funny, at the apothecary where Rin lives, the guy Wallach there, he says, I do have a couple of things that you might find useful. He says, but they're pretty expensive. He plops down a scroll, and then he also plops down a potion. He says, this right here, and he points to this potion. It's actually a large, decanter of sorts. He says, this is the most potent potion of strength known to mankind that I'm aware of. He says, the imbiber drinks the entire thing and has, for a limited time, all the strength of the great storm giants. He says, personally guaranteed by Nystel himself. He says, then here, he says, he's like, as far as defensive magics go, he says, I have this. And he holds out this scroll. Now it's tied shut. And it looks like it was maybe crafted a few years ago. It's got a little dust on it, but it's not crumbling. And he says, this, when the reader reads it, assuming that they can read common, he says, will be temporarily granted mystical armor. Nystel's urine. Right. So
I don't want to spend money on stuff that's temporary. I was looking for more of a.
Now, he says, just so you know, a second here, the wow. Oh, wow. Okay. Huh. He, by the way, it took you a long time to even get Wallach to show you this, and you had to grease a lot of palms just to even find that this guy had this. He holds out this potion to you, or he's kind of got it, and it's like it's couched like in this little cushion inside of a box to kind of keep it safe. And he says, this potion, he says, I would let go for 50,000 gold pieces. He sees this kind of like blank expression cross your face, Edda, and then he just kind of closes the lid on the box and slides it onto the table.
Yeah, no way.
He says, now this, on the other hand, and he holds out the scroll, he says, I would be willing to get rid of for 100 gold pieces.
And you said it's a scroll of mystical armor?
Yeah, it's basically a scroll of mage armor.
I don't think that's what you were wanting, right? Was 100?
No, but it's not bad for $100.
Okay.
But I'll
I asked
buy
him,
it.
will
Anybody
you-
can have it.
I asked him, will you take 70? Sir, my pockets are a little light.
He goes, the great heroes of Redspan He goes, surely you wouldn't be coming to me if your pockets were light. He says, I stand firm at 100 gold. He goes, my master will not let this go for less.
I'll buy it. Someone can use it. I don't care.
Very well. I hand him the 100 gold.
Oh, he didn't even bargain. He didn't even want to make a roll. Okay, he takes the 100 gold.
Oh.
Thank you for your custom, sir. Have a great day.
Well, I figured you would tell me if I needed to make a roll. But okay.
It's negotiation, man.
Was the ogre strength the 50 grand?
It was not ogre strength. It was storm giant strength.
Oh,
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, you could drink that thing and, like, you know, crush castles. For about 5 minutes, maybe. He's like got a castle over his head. It runs out.
not quite what I was looking for. I wanted something to help my armor class, not just for 5 minutes.
Yeah, well, you know, you're in a town that's besieged by orcs, and no merchants are getting in and out really. So you know, you get what you can take, I guess.
I'll just go take it off somebody when I find it.
Well, yeah, that's generally how adventurers do it, right? Okay, so that's how you spend your second week, and you basically spent 200 for, you know, a scroll of mage armor. This is what you end up with, Edda. Oh, and
Okay.
you can also tell Rajic that, like, for the low price of 50,000 gold pieces, the king's ransom, you can drink the juice of a giant's toe and you know, gain its strength for, you know, however long. So anyway, that's how you spend your week. Now, Don, you are going to need to get ready to make some rolls.
Yep.
We're going to see if the king of the cage in Redspan can keep his crown. Let's see. Okay. I'm going to need you, I believe, to start off with an athletics test.
Oh,
That is literally the worst that you could have rolled, I think, just about. I guess not. Okay. All right.
I roll
Give me a check here. Man, that's definitely not the best you could have rolled.
not even close.
Okay. Oh, all right. Okay. All right. Okay. Now I need you to make. Now I need you to make an acrobatics check.
Really? Because I don't have that.
Oh, you got to make it.
Nope.
Okay. Now I need you to make a.
I lose.
The crowd turns against you.
I bet against myself. I throw it.
Okay. All right. I need you now to. Okay. On your character sheet, roll a hit dice. You're not going to spend it, but you're going to roll that hit dice.
Ugh. I hate roll 20.
Okay. Now, I need you to roll a Constitution check.
Oh, for the love of God.
Wow.
Them some good rolls.
Damn, dude.
How can they all be crap rolls?
Wow.
You're making me feel better, Don. Thank you.
That's right.
Okay. All right. Okay. You know what? I think there's going to be a better story here. Let's move on to week 2. I'm not going to tell you what happens in week 1. We're going to move to week 2. All right. I need you to make another athletics test.
Better.
Okay. Make an
Really?
acrobatics check.
No.
Hit dice.
A little better.
Okay. Now make a con check.
And the con check.
There you go. Much better.
Uh,
You must have advantage turned on.
I did. I just turned it off. Yep. get my ass kicked.
Those threes. Mm-mm.
Okay,
Oh, God.
you don't get your ass kicked. But here's what happens. You come back to the fighting pits, which they're down by the docks. In quite a bit ways from any of the fighting that you've done recently. But there's just like a back alley, and they sort of like they pay off the guards to go be somewhere else, and then they put a couple wagons in place to kind of block off a couple of avenues. People pile on the wagons and use them like use them basically like stands. And then you got hawkers out there like selling monkey on a stick and just random foods, and I mean it's like a real spectacle, right? So you come in there, you got your fists wrapped up, ready to fight, and they're like, oh, the orc has returned, to reclaim his title. He's been gone for a few weeks, and the announcer kind of announces you, and you get in there, and you do a series of fights in week 1, and you end up squaring off against the new reigning champion since you left the ring, and he's this dwarf, stubby little dude, but he's got like wiry black hair, and he's just hairy as fuck, and he's just like he like you think this guy is a native fighter, and he just doesn't really like weapons at all, because like you fight with your fists, but like you'd rather have an axe in your hand. You think this guy just likes busting heads. He's not a boxer by trade. You're pretty confident this guy is just an absolute slugger. You get in there, and he wipes the floor with you in week 1. Just absolutely trashes you on the floor, leaves you in a quivering mess. You got all the way to him, and he beat you badly. And you kind of have to pick yourself up and come back, after you've rested up like over a long weekend. What the hell? And that his name is Thungrid, but people call him the Mad Dwarf. You come back in week 2 and fight a series of bouts and just absolutely wipe the floor with all of them. You get back to the Mad Dwarf again, and he beats you a second time. But this time, he doesn't knock you out, and you're able to walk out of that fight. And actually, he helps pick you up off the ground afterwards, and ends up congratulating you on fighting as well as you have. He's like, I've never fought anybody that didn't go down. He was like, and he just grunts and lets you get back to your feet, and then afterward he says, I'll buy you a drink.
Sure. I'll take it.
You make out of both weeks, you make 200 more gold pieces. What I ought to do for 1 week or 2. I mean, I still got to get back to a couple others that haven't done things.
So what's it cost for increasing a skill? Is that 100 gold?
Are you looking to learn a skill you don't already know, or a new language,
Right.
or are you wanting to gain expertise in a skill
I want
you
to learn
already
a
have?
skill I don't know.
Okay. You're generally going to spend. Give me a moment. It generally takes a total of 10 weeks, by the way, but you can do it cumulatively over time and break it up, and that's fine.
I thought the first one you could do over a month.
10 weeks.
10 weeks
Takes 10 weeks
to learn how to do something?
to become proficient in it, yes. And for each week, it's going to cost you 25 gold. And it assumes that that's pretty much about all you can really do. Like, you're not going to be able to, like, work while you do that.
So that's for 8 hours a day.
Or more. Yeah, at least.
So I can't double down and get 4 weeks in 2 weeks.
No.
All right.
You want to spend those 2 weeks training? What are you looking to do?
Intimidation. I go to the castle. I go to the not my boss, but I go to the torturer.
I was gonna say you're gonna find somebody like the torturer.
Yep. I go to the torturer and I volunteer to pay and work for him to learn how to be intimidating.
Okay.
Hell, I can
and I,
do
and
that.
I thought it was 8 hours a day, so I was going to try and double down for 16 hours a day. And
Yeah, a guy like that, there's only like it's somewhat situational, right? There's got to be somebody for him to work on behest of the
we
king.
just brought an entire group of people in
Okay.
that are in need of information gathering. There is a herd of motherfuckers that just came in.
All right. So, what you find is that the torturer, I haven't given him a name yet, but I will. He's really a fan of more psychological sort of, call it torture, or interrogation than he is in like hurting people. He's like, look, he goes, when you got to hurt people, he goes, you've really already lost, right? Like you've proven to them that that you've lost every, that you've sort of exhausted every other tool at your disposal, So he goes through a variety of ways that he can kind of psychologically put people on edge. He does use a few techniques that I don't know. I don't know this stuff myself, but probably like the medieval equivalent of like waterboarding, where people don't like physically get hurt, but it's like it's really scary as shit. You can't breathe and all that kind of stuff. So he uses a little of that, but he really starts to try more of the psychological intimidation. He's like, because frankly, he goes, sometimes you got to work on people that don't really find it intimidating that they're in chains or in manacles, right? Like he goes, that big bastard half-orc that was down here. He goes, I was gearing up to try to intimidate or to work on that guy. He goes, and I knew he was going to be a tough nut to crack. He goes, thankfully I didn't have to work on him. The most interesting client that the guy you're working for works on over the course of those 2 weeks is a woman like the likes of which you've never seen before. She's blonde-haired, like blue-eyed, doesn't look like anybody in in Tenh, really. She's clearly not Flanish, and he gives you a bit of background before you set in on her. Says that she's from the Frusti, and that she was caught sort of. They think she's a spy of some kind. Otherwise, why would she be in Redspan? But he's fairly, the king and the Lord Captain Torwin are fairly confident that she's in collusion with the Orcish army outside. And do you have insight, by the way, Sean?
Yes.
I think you do. All right, go ahead and roll your insight. One thing you'll learn about the guy you're working under is he can be quite terrifying with just like the subtle hints of the potential for violence that he uses. But you think you're easily as good, or maybe even better at him, at understanding like where somebody is mentally and emotionally. And this woman she's actually somewhat resilient. Joe, can you put yourself on mute for a bit till we get back to you? Thank you. She's actually somewhat resilient and doesn't seem to be too intimidated by all of his stuff. Like she seems like she's kind of at peace with where she is and what's going on at this point. And she says more than a couple times, she's like, I don't know why you're trying to get information out of me. She's like, at the end of this, I know you're going to kill me anyway. I have really no impetus to, or what's the word I'm looking for?
Reason.
Yeah, I have no reason to not tell you what you need to know, but I don't really know anything of value to you. And you kind of think that she's hiding something, but that she's being truthful about what she says.
Well, I have a whole different style that involves a lot of pain.
And actually, he eventually resorts to that, and she actually weathers it fairly stoically.
Yeah, she's a spy for sure. Yeah, she's totally a spy.
Yeah,
So-
you've totally had training.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, anything else that you want to do in those 2 weeks?
That was my goal, was to try and get
Okay.
that done.
You blow 50 gold, and I mean, granted, it's not all like spent on him. Part of it was just trying to find the right person for the job, and then whatever. So yeah, I mean, he's training you, and telling you, like when you know that you're not going to get what you're looking for, or like how to intimidate people of different sizes or mental sort of fortitude or whatever, right? So anyway, that's your 2 weeks. Cormac, what about you?
Yes.
What are you going to do for 2 weeks? I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with the downtime rules, but you have 2 weeks to spend. You could be like working. You could like spend gold and carouse with people. I mean, you did that last time, in fact, so you probably do remember this.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
first thing I want to do is I want to spend some time with the short sword that I acquired to see what it actually does.
Okay.
Conduit or whatever.
Okay. Yeah. You didn't really get to that, did you? You didn't get to the.
No, we never got to that. We ended before that happened last time.
Okay. So you spend an hour with it. Okay. Okay. You do. You basically kind of sit with it. You realize that there is some sort of, well, they don't really do a great job of describing the process of attunement, but you sort of kind of mentally become one with the blade to some degree, to try to understand what its purpose is, or whatever. A few things happen to you. When you fully sort of sync with this thing, the blade, which this whole time has been this very sort of bluish steel, after that hour passes, the next time you grip the handle, you grip the handle of the sword, the color sort of deepens in the blade, and it looks like it's sort of moving. Like the whole time, like this bluish steel also has like patterns in it, which we would know as Damascus, or the barbarians might have called the serpent in the steel, but it looks like in the flickering candlelight of your room that maybe it's moving a bit, and then as you come closer, you bring the blade to you to look at it more closely. It's like this shadowy stuff just seems to sort of like vapors sort of evaporate off the blade, but they just keep doing that, which is really odd. The other thing you notice is that all of the, because you're doing this by, in the evening, maybe the first night of the week, and you're in your room, and that room has like one high window at the castle, but it's dark outside. You just have the one candle in your room to kind of light the way. But after you've attuned to it, you can see clearly the entire layout of the room, which you couldn't do, but not in the same way that you normally can. Like it's more like shades of gray. One of the things you notice is that when you look at Smoke, like he stands out starkly. Effectively, you have dark vision.
Okay.
You kind of feel as though the shadows sort of move to kind of encompass you more, or engulf you. Wherever you go in the room, it seems like the shadows shift. Now you're like, maybe it's a play of the candlelight, but you stand still and they stay with you, and as you move around the room, the shadows seem to move with you almost a bit.
Do I have to be holding the blade, or can I be in the scabbard and do that?
It seems as though if the scabbard is belted at your side, even if the blade is in there, that still seems to be the case. And you're still able to see quite well. Effectively, you have expertise in stealth.
So I've already got stealth. What does expertise do for me?
You gain a double proficiency bonus. So if you go to the gear button on your character sheet, you can change where it says like proficient to like expertise, I believe.
Okay, all right.
Effectively, you get double proficiency.
Aha, nice.
You eventually also learn over the course of the next week that it seems to also sharpen your senses around being able to track other entities. Like your sense of smell is sharper, your ability to spot like the telltale signs of tracks is better. So like while before you had expertise primarily in hunting other humans and humanoids, now it seems like you could probably track a snake through tall grass for a few miles.
Nice.
And then the last thing is quite interesting. It's not exactly talking, but you notice that after that, like the subtle sort of motions that smoke makes, now to you almost feel like a form of language. And you and he like understand each other on a much deeper level than you ever felt before.
That's interesting. So, like, sort of
You find out he's a she.
Actually, no, I think actually Smoke is a she.
Oh, is
right?
she?
So,
Oh,
yeah.
She's currently in heat then.
oh God. So basically, effectively, what it means is that you have, if you already have animal handling, then you have advantage, but only when dealing with canines. So it's not just it's all canines. Oh, it includes wolves, dogs, anything of the sort, foxes. And the last thing you kind of discover by accident, when you're holding the blade, you can make yourself invisible for a period of time.
Wow.
3 times a day. And that recharges at dawn. Also, it doesn't just sharpen your senses to like canines and tracking, but just your general sense of like understanding things seems to be greater. Your wisdom increases by 2.
Oh, nice.
It is a +3 blade, short sword.
Holy smokes.
Nice. Yay. This is a pretty awesome blade.
Is there an inscription on the blade, Tony?
Does it have a name that I can discern, or?
There is a name on the blade, but you can't read it unless you know Sulois.
I can't. I'll have to get that figured out sometime, though. And the rest of my time I spend, is Zarkiba still in port, or has she left?
Say again? Oh, Zarkiba? Yeah, absolutely.
Also, I go spend some time with her then, and I don't know, spend some gambling.
You're gonna gamble? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Are you proficient in it?
I am.
Well, fantastic. All right. Okay. So you're gonna just spend 2 weeks gambling in town?
Yep.
Okay. You end up, at least in part, you end up spending some time gambling at the fighting pits, and actually see Rajic working in the pits, just creaming just about everybody, except for that damn dwarf. Okay. Okay. Go ahead and make an insight check.
Insight?
Yep. Make an insight check. Oh, that's about as bad as you could possibly roll, isn't
God damn it.
Okay. Oh, how much are you
wait?
Okay, how much are you wagering on week 1? That's important.
How much money do I actually? I don't know how much money I actually have. Let me see. Where's my money at? Is that on the page? Have we split up any of our loot? Oh, there we are. I've only got 10 gold pieces.
Are you wagering 10 gold pieces?
I'm going to wager all of it, I guess.
Okay, all right. 10 gold it is. It's not starting off well.
No.
Okay, now I need you to make a deception check.
Deception.
Oh, okay, all right. Okay, and then last, I want you to make a check with your gaming skill.
Okay.
Okay. You have a week of ups and downs, and at the end of the week, you have 5 gold pieces to your name.
Shit. God,
Okay.
I'm so poor.
Now, at one point, you found yourself actually in debt to a local bookie, but you were able to get yourself back out of that, and you finally have 5 gold left. Do you want? And how do you want to handle week 2?
Double or nothing.
You're gonna bet the 5 you've got.
Yep.
5 gold. Okay, let's do it. All right.
All right. Insight.
Yep. Go do an insight. Okay. All right. Make another deception check. Okay. And now I need you to make your gaming skill check. Okay. you end up at the end of that week. You dig yourself back out of the debt you gained that week again, but this time you only have 2 gold pieces. So
Jesus.
you've just not done well. At one point you're like, you were up so much, and you're like, oh, this was week 1, by the way, and you're like, I'm betting everything on Ragic, right? I'm putting it all on Ragic. He only just kept like a few gold in reserve, and you lose it all on him because he failed. He lost that match.
God damn it.
And then week 2 he came back and he was just going strong, and you're like, yeah, but the Mad Dwarf, he got him that time. So it was like the big match of the week, and you're like, well, instead of betting against him, which you felt like would be like really bad, you just kind of you bet on a bit of a spread, as it were. And there were a lot of people who were like, oh, he's going down like, in the first 3 minutes. And you're like, no, I think he's going to go down in like maybe 5 minutes or 10, right? And he ended up going he didn't get completely knocked out, but you still you didn't do well on that spread, and so you lost another big pile again. And so you literally have two gold pieces to rub together at the end of 2 weeks, which did not work out well for you.
I want to go back to grousing. Cheaper.
Well, yeah. Yeah. Okay, so let's see. I think we got 2 weeks on just about everybody, except I'll go back to Rin. What about for your week 2? What do you do?
Let's see here. First, I want to do a little research on who is Vatoon.
Okay, so you're gonna
Yep.
you want to get as much detail as you can on him
Yeah.
this week.
Well. Actually, let's see who. I can do that later. Actually, first I want to see if I can figure out who carried Dream Singer last. Let's see if I can find some information on that.
So you want to dig deeper on that detail.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So are you just gonna kind of do what you just did, blow
Yep.
100 more gold pieces? All right. All right. You do that and make your research check or your investigation check with a +2.
So 20.
All right. Okay. Moment here. Come on. All right, there we go. Okay. Interestingly enough, let's see here. Interestingly enough, there's some suspicion that the last place that anyone heard of Dream Singer was in the Duchy of Tenh, and it was believed that a skald named Sigvaldi Eriksson carried Dream Singer in the walled city of Atherstone.
How do you spell the city?
Atherstone, Atherstone. What you know of Atherstone is that it's traditionally been a trading post between the Pale and the rest of Tenh, and it has these garrisons, these base garrisons called the Pentris Castles. A lot of foreign merchants visit there. Once again, like it was a common place, like where not only the people from the Pale would come up and trade, but other merchants from like Ratik and the Frusti would like come down like around the edge of the Rushmores, and Atherstone was a place they would stop and trade.
I'm assuming in this current environment, it has been overrun.
You have no understanding of what is going on in that part of the world or that part of Tenh at this point.
Willem, take a trip.
Yeah. Here's some GPS coordinates, Willem. Go.
I mean, kind of what you know about it is, although so you'll learn a little bit more about Atherstone as well. Although Atherstone is a fortified city, the citizens definitely favored form over function, and it had a lot of garish colonnaded vistas, great halls of remarkable ostentation and pomp, a lot of like gilded statues and busts, sentimental sculptures of lovers wooing and nature spirits peeking from streams and trees, all of that kind of stuff. I mean, Atherstone was a very wealthy trade city. I mean, you would imagine it'd be a ripe city for pillage.
Yeah. I'm sure it's overrun these days.
But when Sigvaldi was there, evidently, I mean, was a common traveler outside of the Thilronian Peninsula, and traveled with many merchants, telling tales and gathering stories, and was supposedly commonly seen there. And in the most recent accounts were like maybe 5 years ago.
Oh, that's it. Okay. Well, in that case, I hop on social media and check his Facebook page.
Right.
Okay.
You get a big screen that comes back with angry orc face and technical difficulties.
Yeah.
Right.
404 not found.
That's right.
Okay.
Okay, that's what you learn from the second week of study.
Okay.
So that's pretty much it. Jal, what are you doing week 2?
I want to amend my program a little bit. I need to make some money, and I'm wondering, is there any market in the city for holy water?
Absolutely.
Okay, I can make it using my ceremony spell. And so if I make these vials of holy water, I just wondered if I could sell them.
Yeah, give me a second here. What does it say? Like you can make a vial a day with the spell. Is that how it works?
Each casting of the spell is a vial of holy water.
Okay. And how many can you cast in a day?
I can do 3 spells in a day.
Okay, so you can make 3 vials a day. And you're thinking about doing that for an entire week.
Yep, to get some money because
Jeez, Joe.
I've got some females I wish to pursue, and you can't do that if your purse is empty.
That's true. All right. Let's see here. Hang on a second.
I don't know. My purse is much emptier than mine, and I have good luck.
So far, you sure have, haven't you? Okay.
I'm keeping you healthy too.
Thank you.
No problem.
You should. Etta just stands on the corner. You know, like, do you want to keep those evil spirits away? Come see my buddy Joel.
Right. I'm assuming you know you know what we'll kind of hand wave it, but you end up cutting a deal with Wallach at the apothecary that Rin lives at, and
Okay.
Wallach says that he will pay you. You know, first of all, he, knowing that you were a Lion of Alator, he's like, I have absolutely believe that this is truly holy water. He says, I will pay you 10 gold for each flask.
Okay. How about 15?
All right. Well, yeah, you meet up at the market and you talk, and you know their parents are fine, and the mothers very much want to marry you off or marry their daughters off to you for sure. Like they see you as a prized addition to their family. So anyway, that's that.
Okay.
So a couple weeks have passed. Things have kind of quieted down in the city. One of the things that you kind of keep your ear to the ground for, Iona, is any sort of, you know, maybe criminal activity sort of changing or anything like that because of Kren and his, you know, exit stage left. And
that's going to have influence.
Yeah, well, things have died down a bit. The lawlessness in town seems to have diminished, and you don't hear of any more orcish incursions into town. But in a way, that sort of makes you a bit nervous. And the group of you find yourselves sitting together at the Wink and Kiss of all places, and at one table over, Iona, is your crew, the Crows. Just sort of catch them after a couple weeks. Definitely not the sort of place that you've grown accustomed to, Jal. I mean, you've really gotten used to the finer things in life, and you know you're looking down at your mug that you're drinking out of, and you're like, you know, looking at the side of it, and it's just like a kind of a layer of grime, and you're like, God, I hope they wipe the inside of this thing out before they served ale in it. Of course, then again, swill is not that great in this place anyway.
Jeez, we need a better venue.
Oh, and Rajic, you know, you've been staying at the King's. God bless it. Is it the King's Cross or the King's Crown? I need
King's Crown.
I need to get this thing straight. Okay, you've gotten used to. You've
I
gotten.
made a song about it, Tony.
Say again.
So I made a song about it.
Oh right, yeah. You've gotten used to the King's Crown a little bit, Rajic, but you also find that the crowd is a lot colder toward you when Jal's not around. So this place.
That's why I go there.
This place, at least, sort of, you don't feel unwelcome ever in the Wink and Kiss. And the Mad Dwarf is here with you as well.
All right.
Although he's up at the bar.
He can stay there. I'm still mad.
You know, for being a small dwarf like he is, his fists are like the size of like small hams. And he hits like anvils, is what it feels like. The dude is just like this crazy, knotted little, crazy bastard.
I think he cheated somehow.
Well, I mean, it was bare knuckles. So anyway, yeah. So what do you guys do? Been kind of quiet.
I have a purse I need to divvy up with this group. The captain gave me 50 gold pieces before we went out on the ship, and I haven't had a chance to divvy it up when we're all sitting here. So that's what, 6 of us. So each
Good,
one
then you're
gets.
buying.
Okay. That ought to be a gold piece. And I've got.
Yeah, you see, Iona, you see Cordelia from the other table. She's like, "Is he crazy? Don't do that openly in here."
I just like, what am I gonna do?
Yeah, I need my share. I'm down to 2 gold, so
Well, here's 8 more.
yeah, I'm back up to 10.
Cormac seems a little frazzled after 2 weeks playing card games, and Radchik, you saw him a couple of times cheering you on from out in the the stands while you were fighting. You also saw him with a really bleak expression on your face help pick you up off the ground week 1 when you got knocked out by the dwarf.
I buy him a drink.
Okay. All right. So, you sort of, the best of your ability, kind of quietly divvy up the cash between the group. What is that? 6 apiece?
Yep, 8 apiece.
8 apiece. Okay. So
I just put my 8 gold onto the tray for the waitress, and I'm like, drinks for the house. I buy a round for the bar. I'm like, drinks are free till that's gone.
She brings it back, and there's a general uproar. You see the bartender. He's like, "Yeah, not the top shelf stuff, though. Just this stuff." So, all right.
I specifically say ale is free until it's spent. So okay. I buy beer for the entire for the bar.
People come in. Some local shopkeepers. You recognize like Flint Feather, who runs Flint Feather's general store. Yes, this is a seedy bar, but it's also like been a establishment in Redspan. It's a neighborhood bar, and his general store's not too far away. He comes in. You see a few priests, also sort of come in too, or monks, and they're all like pleasantly surprised when they find out that their ale's free. So your group, as you're talking about the events of the last several weeks, find yourself interrupted frequently by people just kind of coming by the table and thanking you for the.
Y'all paid for it. Every time, every person, y'all bought it. Y'all paid for the beer. Lion of Redspan right here bought your beer. Famous guy right here, he bought your beer. Me, I'm nobody. Y'all bought your beer. I make y'all just fucking famous as shit in here.
I'll make you famous.
All right. Okay. Yeah. So, Jal, you get lots more attention.
I blush suitably. Thank you.
Joey makes him famous with the rich people. I make him famous with the poor people.
With the small folk. Yeah.
I do better with the small folk.
Yep.
That's my humble beginnings.
Yep. Y'all bought your beer. Y'all bought beer. Bought beer for the Hero Redspan right here.
Okay, so you guys are sitting around talking about leads that you want to follow up on, like things that maybe you should be doing. Rin, you bring up. I don't know. What do you guys talk about? I shouldn't second guess what you're thinking.
We need a damn job.
I think apparently we need to check under the walls of this fucking castle.
Boy, given the experience we've had already, they probably mined all under this town. It's not a comforting thought.
I'm still listening, but I'll be right back. Still
I
listening.
know an entrance.
Other than the front gate.
Still listening.
What the? That sounded evil.
Yeah, he's got this thing where he like growls all the time now. Have we thought about like? I mean, it's inevitable that the red span is probably going to fall unless something happens out of our control. So my question is that like, where? I mean, did everybody in Tenh die, or did portions of like Tenh flee, and where did they go?
My understanding is everybody that was alive came to Redspan.
Well, there's places to. I mean, like Rook Roost is to the west, and then I can't. Is it Nyrond? Is that to the south?
Mhm.
Did anybody go to either of those places?
I'm sure some
Where
people-
are?
I guess the vast majority would come to Red Planet, but I'm sure people that are closer to need somewhere safe.
So why have we not called upon Nyrond and like Rook Roost for help? Because if we fall, those places are going to be nests.
So, Scotty, Cormac, when
Yes.
you were spending your evenings with your friend Zarkiba, she has, she's been looking for the next load. Like she wants to, she wants it to be, to be worth her while going in between any 2 points. So she's trying to find a few jobs. Anyway, while you're like waiting in port, there have been a few other smaller craft than hers that have kind of come and gone, including a few Rene. She tells you that the word is that war has spread like wildfire through all of the Flaneus. She says, so far it seems like Greyhawk is safe, and so is Divers, which she says are common ports of call that she makes, across the other side of the Neardiv. In Radagast City, it seems as though there is no war happening, but she says your Grand Duke, well, maybe not your Grand Duke, but these people's Grand Duke is there trying to drum up support. She goes, but between me and you, she goes, I'm no king and I'm no noble. She goes, but what stake does Ernst have in this? It's a costly war. She goes, however, I hear that Nyrond and the Great Kingdom of the Erdi all have been thrown into chaos. War is everywhere. She goes, I even hear tale that as far west as the Barrier Peaks, they say that giants have come down out of the mountains and raised the land of Jeff, they say. And Sterich and Bissell, all of those countries, they are at war, and it isn't just people fighting people. It's horrifying monsters stirred up. She goes, it's almost as if the gods are at play.
So I relate this to the crew. War is everywhere now in the north. Monsters and.
So why, if this is the case, why do we not just get as many barges and cogs and just flee Redspan? I mean, not us in particular, but at least the civilians.
I don't think there'd be enough boats.
Yeah, you've got probably at this point 5 times the number of people inside the city than it can comfortably hold. I mean, refugees are everywhere. It's they've driven their cattle in, but people have tried to steal it.
What is that, 10,000, 20,000 people in the city? How big is it?
I'll have to look that up again. But I mean, the city was really only intended to maybe have maybe 10,000 typically, and there's probably 40,000 inside of it right now.
Oh God,
Way
yeah.
too many. Way too
Yeah,
many.
you're not getting all those out on a boat.
They're burning through supplies rapidly. Now the good news is that you haven't been called up to like help with the rescue of any more supply boats. But then again, you're also not getting any work at the moment either.
Hmm.
Is there? I mean, yeah. I mean, the only other thing I could say is that, I know the Artanzame is pretty wide, but if we thought about ferrying people across,
Into the Bandit Kingdom? Bad plan.
I mean, is the Rook Roost that bad, or is it just the lands of? I mean, there are free people that live in those cities.
One thing that you all will kind of remember is that it looked like either hired men from Joe Ray's or maybe they weren't hired at all. Oh, one thing that also happens, and I forgot to mention this. Cormac, you'd probably be more clued into this than anybody else just because you have been staying at the castle. The half-orc captain from Castle Arnston that you
I was
guys...
just going to ask about him.
Yeah.
Ortiz.
Captain Ortiz, yes. He, evidently, rather than being executed, the Lord Fell accepted cash to ransom him back to Joe Race.
Oh.
So you know that Ortiz left, under his own steam. And Zorkiba backs us up by saying that there was a boat that came, from somewhere in Joe Race, bearing, some sort of nobleman, and he came to the court under a flag of truce and bargained for Ortiz's life. She goes, I don't know how much gold there was. She goes, but there were 2 chests. Evidently, that man that you captured was worth a lot.
Hmm.
Oh, and then Iona, that Master Sare he's taken the woman Maricel to his private rooms, and not even the torturer that you're working with has touched her or spent any time with her.
He's taking the personal interest.
Apparently.
What a humanitarian.
Hmm.
Yeah. No. Yeah, well, I don't pry because that wouldn't be good for me. I do bring that it would be great benefit to us if we could find the captain's seal.
How would that benefit us?
Well, if we were to
You
return it, I'm sure there'd be a reward. If we could find the guilty party, I'm sure they'd be very interested in paying us for them.
Hmm.
And then we
Let's
could.
investigate.
Well, they're not very good thieves, I'll tell you that.
Why do you say that? They haven't been caught yet. I think they must be quite skilled.
No, after investigating it, they were clumsy oafs. I think they only escaped by sheer luck.
And there was no argument.
A lot of quiet.
I get up from the table and then I accidentally knock over Iona's flagon on top of him. I'm so clumsy. I'm sorry.
You know what? I think that's worth. I think I'm right there. Might be worth a card draw. That's just fun.
Yay.
So,
Ooh, fiend.
so you guys are sitting at the table, trying to figure out, what you want to do next. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if Jal, you bring up the blades, or I mean, you two now know that you hold one of the 5 blades of Korask. I mean, do you guys bring that up?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
That's
so
good for our party to know.
Yeah. What do you just kind of walk through everything you learned?
Yeah, I don't see why not. I'll haul out one of the cakes and cut it up while everybody's having a slice of cake. We'll discuss it.
So, okay, at this point, Cormac, as he's going through everything he learned, sort of like the physical descriptions and all that stuff, your jaw drops when he describes the blade that, and he's kind of rifling through his own notes. And he's
Stalker.
You figured that out too, yeah. He mentions a blade called Stalker or Larendenjo. And when he describes the physical appearance of it, you're just like, holy shit.
Oh.
Why are my pants vibrating?
Go. Guys, that sounds kind of like my sword, a little bit.
Huh?
I pull out the scabbard and, show him. Check out the cool blue moving things. I can do all kinds of cool new shit now.
Did you I was gonna say, did you talk to anybody about how you found this or how you got a hold of it? Okay, I thought not, but I just checked.
Nope.
All right.
How came you by this sword?
Yeah.
Fell off the back of a wagon.
The turnip truck, right?
Yeah. Bullshit.
I don't flash the blade around because I know it's pretty valuable. But I mean, I mentioned that I have my new sword sounds kind of like that description.
Yeah. So you bring it out to show it, and you're like, okay, yes, perfectly matches the description. Rin, you're like, all right, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah.
The gods are at work here with this group.
I don't think it's a god, I say. Although it does involve a god, supposedly.
We have acquired 2 of the 5 blades.
So what are these blades again? 5 of them? Does it? They combine together and you form the Avengers or something?
Yeah, it's like Voltron.
Yeah.
They're called the 5 blades of Korask.
Mm-hmm.
And when they are together, the description was not translated accurately, I don't think, but close enough. It's some sort of doom and summoning of a Sul god named Vatun. Or something like that. Well, no, but
depends on what the god does.
Or is it a good god or a bad god?
No idea. But the legend spoke of doom, so he's probably not a really nice guy.
Yeah. Can I at least make can we make like a history check to see if we've heard of this guy?
Yeah, sure.
Totally got that.
So do I.
Key,
You know what?
key knowledge.
Boom!
Hold
You
on.
again,
yeah.
Sean.
Yeah,
this is the
yeah.
second time you've known.
Yeah,
I'm a history guy.
Iona, you've been actually digging into a lot of deities, especially since it's kind of been a private thing for you, but when you not only realized that Joy D was a real thing and that she could provide you power to further her aims. It also caused you to like want to know more about all these different gods, because you now realized if Joy D can provide you power, so can all these other gods, right? Or they can provide their worshippers power. Who are they and what do they represent? Anyway, this one is rather obscure, but as it turns out, you just recently ran across some information about this deity. Just a second here. Oh, that's not what I was looking for. So, Vatun may not have existed.
Parata Nicta.
Right. There, I said the words. So Vatun only appears in Sewell mythology at the point that the Great Migrations, which you don't know much about, but what you do know, I mean, a lot of people have at least heard legends of this in the distant past. There were two great empires, and they were far to the west. Like Cormac, you know, like enough from your studies, you know, when you were younger, that when Zarkiba was talking about like as far west as Jeff and the Barrier Peaks, okay, and like the giants coming out of that and all that stuff that's supposedly going on right now. These great empires of the ancient Sulois and the ancient Baklunish were even further west. And to the deep south is now this place that people call, it's like absolutely desolate, called the Sea of Dust. And legends speak of this thing called the Rain of Colorless Fire and the invoked devastation that these two cultures used against each other. Some of the most powerful ritual sorceries that have perhaps ever occurred in, you know, on the continent of Oeric, or maybe on the, you know, this world known as Earth. And when that happened, it destroyed both civilizations. And what ended up happening is that those that survived, they all fled and headed in different directions. And of course, the Flanaeus being east of all that, you know, there's some knowledge that the Sulois peoples continued to migrate, but at the same time, there were these Iridian tribes that were also migrating, and they just fought these running battles. Well, in general, the Iridians are a more warlike people, and the Iridian tribes founded kingdoms like Furiandi and Keoland and Erdi, the Great Kingdom. So can you imagine the greatest kingdoms of settled humans in all of the Flanaeus are the Iridians. You know, they're probably the most warlike and industrious sort of peoples. The Sulois didn't really stand a chance against a lot of those early tribes, and they continued to migrate. You know, some disappeared maybe into the south, beyond the Hepmanaland and the jungles down there. Some migrated way up to the northeast, and those ones, they all went to the Thelonrian Peninsula, and they became known as the Frost, Snow, and
Ice barbarians.
Ice barbarians. And that's really the first that Vatun sort of appears. It's called the god of the northern barbarians, the god of cold, the god of winter, the god of arctic beasts, polar bears, and you know all those very deadly creatures of ice. In that way, he isn't necessarily.
Yeah, you probably got those shirts because they look tight on you, didn't?
He's not really described as a member of the Sewell pantheon. He's kind of on his own, but he's always described as a massive Sewell barbarian dressed in the skin of polar bears, with a beard of snow and ice, and his breath is frozen fog. And in these stories, he always wielded a mighty great axe called Vexen, made completely of ice. He evidently had some allies in the Sewell pantheon, like his brother Dalt and the Sewell god Lurg, but at some point he was imprisoned by someone, and that's about all you know.
So
They put you to
he's
sleep.
imprisoned. then bringing these 5 blades together could free Vatun.
So is it a good god or a bad god?
Well, he's a god of survival and a hard deity that has to be hard to live, like his people in the harsh climates of the north. People pray to him before they go on raids and pillaging.
Yeah, so he's like a Viking god, and we're the people that they would be attacking. So no, he would not be on our side.
He's as good or bad as someone like Odin or Thor or Loki or any of those gods. Were they truly evil? Was Loki evil? Well, maybe he was evil.
Loki's pretty fucking evil.
Okay, perhaps so. Yeah. Okay, he's not really described in terms of trickery, but
Thor's pretty good in the Marvel movies.
Right.
Thor in general is a god of, a god of creation and a god of war, but
he's an asshole.
But he is an asshole. He's an asshole. And he's your barroom brawl fighter. He's your drinker and your carouser, and But even Odin, who's the wise one, the seer, the knower, he's also an asshole. So yeah, it sounds like it's kind of the neutral aspect of the god, as far as that goes. And I don't know that necessarily just because, it's their god, it wouldn't necessarily be against us if we were the ones to bring it around. Might actually be of great help as a survivor in a city encaged in, beset on all sides.
But I mean, these are gods, though. Even if we are the ones to free him, I don't know that we can rely on his gratitude.
Oh, thanks, guys. I'll just go ahead and wipe out the rest of these barbarians for you.
That'd be great. I mean, we don't know the whole story, but I mean...
Yeah.
Let me add one tidbit to the telling here. And it happened when I came by Zotat, my sword. You remember, Iona, when we went to the Dogs of War, that they did not know the sergeant that I spoke of.
Right. We told, and then we discovered that they didn't know him. That's right.
Sergeant at Arms Chell. And I went looking for a swordsmith because I wanted to have my old longsword silvered. And he said, no, I've got something better for you. And he took me into the armory and gave me this sword and said that I would be able to make use of it where no one else was, I don't know, the word was worthy or competent to use it. But nobody knew who he was. I
turned to Cormac. Cormac, who gave you that sword?
Nobody gave it to me.
Sure, you found it in an alley, sitting there on a box or something, right?
Don't believe you. I also don't believe that the guy who gave you yours was who he says he was.
Undoubtedly, they had no one like that on the roster.
The 2 artifacts have fallen into this group's hands is no coincidence. I say. So whoever it is that gave you that sword, Cormac. Well, I have my theories. I say. I would venture to guess that person is no longer around, and also doesn't exist.
Tomorrow morning, I'm gonna go check the dungeons to see if his theories are correct.
Okay. Before we get there, though, so you're all sitting around this table, kind of talking these things over, and the barmaid, she walks by, and as she's like delivering the next round of drinks to your table, she just kind of bends down and whispers, like really almost imperceptibly in your ear, and she says, Kulan wants to talk to you. Oh, did we lose Joe?
He's probably muted.
He might be fighting a battle against his angry familiar.
I know it.
Powered sleep.
That's right.
Boy, yeah.
Powered nap.
All right, so let me do this. I'm going to share a couple things here while we're waiting for Joe to get back.
Yeah, what's up? I'm back.
I was saying that. Okay, so here's kind of what you learn about Batun. So, okay, so you're sitting at the table when the barmaid comes by, and as she's delivering drinks, she just whispers in your ear. She says, "Kulan would like to talk to you."
Okay, I tell the guys that I have to go to the bathroom, but in the most discreet way possible, and I slip off. Hopefully, Kulan is not within eyesight of the guys.
He's around the corner. He's got like those, there's like a private table that's like evidently maybe he just pays for it. Everybody knows they don't go to that area.
Okay. I slip on over there to Kulan and they sit down.
Okay. Okay. He's got a as he's sitting there at the table, you make a perception test.
Sure.
All right.
Not very perceptive.
No, nothing.
Okay. He says, as he sits down, he goes, "I got something for you." He goes, "Information." He goes, "Not a job per se." He goes, "But you do with it what you want." He goes, "It's in my interest to make sure that the city doesn't fall to those fucking orcs." So he says,
Right.
This is free to you." And you feel something kind of hit you in the foot as he kicks something under the table over to you.
Okay. Yeah, how big is it?
It's like a bag, like maybe this big or so, and it's kind of cinched up at the top. Seems heavy.
Okay.
It doesn't clink, so you're disappointed that it's not coins.
Yeah. I grab it and I put it in my lap and I peek inside.
The smell hits you first. Something that's been dead a while. And as you open it, you're a little surprised to see an ugly, almost lizard-like face, sort of with like a death rictus grin, kind of looking back at you. This long snout.
It isn't. Is it the kobold or not the kobold? The dragon layer guy?
It's a kobold.
Oh, it's a kobold. Okay.
Yeah, and he says, "Goes one of my associates encountered this below the city." Goes, I believe that we encountered. Well, we didn't. He didn't encounter just this one. He was with a group of people doing a job for me, and they encountered a group of them doing some heavy earthworks, digging underneath of the city. He goes, I fear that they may be sappers working for the orcs. He goes,
Okay.
I'm telling you this because I know that. Dear God.
Yeah. Sorry.
He goes, I'm telling you this because.
Thank you.
I'm
That's
telling you
better.
this because he says, I know that one of the people that you operate with is an agent for the Lord, or for Lord Fell. He goes, it probably needs to make its way there.
He's talking about Iona, correct? The crows and stuff.
He doesn't say that out loud. He says,
Right.
He goes, he looks at you. He goes, "This cannot trace back to me."
Okay.
He says,
Come on, Oliver.
and after you like, okay, he actually gets up from his table, which you don't see him do very often. He gets up, stretches a bit, and starts to walk out. And he says, "You owe me one."
I haven't stood up in 7 sessions.
That's right.
Okay, I look at him and I nod. And does he want anything else from me, or does he leave?
Just looking for a favor.
Okay, I look at him and I kind of shake my head and I say, "What do you want me to do, Kulan?"
He goes, "Don't worry about that right now."
Okay. I stand up as well, and I grab the sack, and okay.
He makes his exit, and actually, you see him go right and head upstairs.
Okay. Yeah, I take the sack and I sit down next to Iona, and
Jesus, you need a bath.
Yeah.
Right.
I slip it like underneath the table and I hand it to him and I say, don't make a scene. And then I proceed to explain to him exactly what Kulan just explained to me.
I think I've realized your
Come on,
familiar,
bud.
your familiar isn't really your son. He's like a pygmy, and he's like singing the song of his people, isn't he?
Yes, he is. Wah, wah, wah. He's like a minion.
Ba-na-na-na-na-na.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. So Iona, you feel this sort of, like
I leave it on the floor and I reach down and crack it open.
The smell hits you pretty
Dear
strongly.
Lord.
It's clearly the smell of death. Yeah.
What is it? I close the bag. I'm like, what in the fuck is that?
I'm guessing you must have stepped away again.
So where does he tell me that?
No, sorry. No, I said I explained to you, or I explained to Iona that I was given this by somebody who would like to remain nameless, but they believe that, or this was found in the Undercity, and they believe that kobolds have begun to dig again underneath the city, possibly with the motivated by the orcs as a way to.
Fuck! I was hoping that bastard go away.
Yeah, me too.
He's on a mission.
Yeah, to kill us.
Mm-hmm.
He's on a mission to reconvert the Souls.
Sisul.
Yeah, Souls.
All right.
I'm like, so where did they find this fucking thing?
Did he give me enough of a description, or at least, or maybe somebody to ask?
He just said under the city.
Okay.
He didn't get much more specific than that.
I tell Iona I'm not really sure, but I think we should start asking around. Possibly, maybe one of the crows knows.
Why would my guys know where kobolds are digging under the city?
I don't know.
They're at the next table over, by the way, drinking
Yeah.
and occasionally, like sharing, gossip with, your table.
So, I say loud of. So the pretty lady thinks you guys know where kobolds dig under the city.
You see, what is his name? The big guy. What's his name?
Ferris.
Ferris?
Or Fenrir. Or
No, that's not right. Too many NPCs. I can't even keep track of them anymore. Hang on.
I'm getting there.
The big guy works.
Fergus.
Fergus, yeah. Yeah, Fergus, he
I have
he
a
is
Ferris that works for me, so.
Ferrero. Or
Rocher.
Ferraro, yeah. Rocher, that's right. He makes chocolates. No, Fergus, he is like just in his cups, and he's like, I don't know where anything is right now. He's like, I'm not even sure I can find it to go to the bathroom. And Cordelia and Ferrero kind of laugh at him. But Ferrero, your little box guy, he says, he goes, honestly, Iona, he says, I haven't heard anything since everything that went down a couple of weeks ago. He says, I've been able to travel the sewers without much trouble, and he goes, I haven't seen any hide or hair of any creatures like that. He goes, trust me, if I did, you'd already know about it.
I know.
I raised my hand.
What?
I point at Cormac.
How does Cormac know?
I don't know. How does he know when there's people nearby?
Right, exactly. Cormac, where are they under the city?
Let me
anybody
listen
knows,
at the
you know.
ground.
All right. Yeah, we can try that.
All right, let's take a very brief break. I know we're like actually almost to the end here, but I need to take a really fast break, and we'll be right back. Okay.
Roger Dodger.
All right. Thanks,
Cool.
guys. I'm like starting to do the dance over here.
Yeah, if Cormac can narrow it down
Yeah.
for us, we might be able to find something. We gotta
That's a
save
good
our
idea.
city.
Or we book boat passage.
Passage out. I
So
don't,
the enemies of this Vatoon are like Ayuz and the Archdevil Belial, so he can't be all bad.
right. If
No,
anything,
I like this guy more and more already.
exactly.
Mhm.
I don't know anything about Telkur, but let's see what's
Yeah.
it say.
Ayuz says it all.
Yeah.
Amen.
If he's against Ayuz, he's with us.
That would definitely be a
Oh,
solution
I
to
s-
this
So Telkur.
siege.
So Telkur. The reason they're enemies is because he's also the god of winter, cold in the north.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They're
There
kind
can
of.
be only one.
That's right. Yeah, Telkur won't be happy with us, but if it gets Ayuz, off our backs.
Mm-hmm.
All we got to do is find the other 3 swords.
Yeah, right.
Minor
Well, just
detail.
At this rate, we just need to go look in the back alley.
Yeah. Wait.
Well, certainly somebody is
I've got
helping us
one.
do this.
All right, everybody else, sword check. Check your swords. Come on, people.
Considering I started with mine, I think I'm okay. So
We need to go find that
So
one. Was it the Dream Singer?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. You guys are, like still thinking about this, and Iona, you've got this rotting head in a bag, by your feet under the table. The smell sort of is like, it's fairly well contained within the bag unless the top is, uncinched. But every so often, like people at the table just get kind of like that random stench of death, and it's kind of like you're drinking a beer and suddenly like, what the, and then it kind of passes, and you're like, what the hell,
Look over at Rajak.
right, racist.
God damn, man, what have you been eating?
He hasn't bathed in his 2 weeks of ass kicking.
Right, you still got covered in someone else's blood.
Yeah.
You see Iona, because you're just the guy that's always looking at the exits, and you see a young boy, looks like a refugee kid, He's got like dirt on him, and he's got bare feet. His pants are tattered, and they're basically like shorts now that are like just kind of hanging off of him because he's so freaking skinny. But he's like holding like a folded note in his hand, like he's actually kind of got it clutched to his chest, and he's looking around, and his eyes finally, like, he kind of analyzes people.
I go, Joe Mala's over here.
That catches his attention, and he looks at you, and he looks back at Jalmala, and then he looks at you again, and then you see he kind of like nods to himself or makes a decision that you're the one he's looking for, and he comes up to you, and he says, "Are you the one called Iona, sir?" He's like, I can't. I'm not sure. He goes, if not, that's okay. Like, he's still looking around the bar.
Who's asking?
He goes, a really big man gave this letter to me to give to you.
I give him a silver. Now go away.
Okay, he seems happy with it.
I take it out of his hands before he really realizes he's lost it, and I give him a silver. And I'm like, now go away.
Yeah, he's a skinny little shit, And in fact, you see one of the barmaids like takes pity on him and gives him a crust of bread as he heads out the door. And you see, as you kind of open this up, kind of a rough.
I don't open it right away.
Oh, okay, all right.
I kind of hold it up and look through it and sniff it.
You're fairly confident that it's not like trapped. There's no like exploding powders or other kind of crazy things. You shake it a little bit. And,
Yep. Yeah, I do several multiple. Hold it over the candlelight and kind of smell the warmth of the paper to make sure, and then I open it.
Okay. Some things you notice. One corner of the paper is charred, and the whole thing smells like bad breath and sulfurous fire.
Look over at Donnie. Damn, how did you get involved in this stuff?
The hand that it's written in seems to be rather cramped. And another piece of like another little detail you notice is that there are lots of scratch marks on the paper. Like a couple of them nearly tear it. Like the hand that held it maybe had claws.
Oh, fucking great.
It says, "I am not one to be double-crossed." The wall. He says, "The north gate comes down tonight."
I'm going to run out of here to go tell him. That's the whole point of this, and then I'm going to get ambushed out in the fucking street.
You do have a stone.
Yeah. I was thinking that already. I tell the boss that I've come into possession of the decapitated head of a kobold that's supposedly under the city, and that their commander has just sent me a letter saying that the north gate comes down tonight. But I believe the whole thing's a trap for me anyway.
Let me see what he would respond with.
But they should check under the gate.
Ree says, "As my most competent agent," he goes, "you've already ascertained what I would have as well." He goes, "Nonetheless, I need you to uncover what really is going on." He says, "I don't think that the crows are perhaps the best suited to this task." He goes, "Take those others with you."
Take those other wankers with you.
I actually,
expendable.
They're out of my table. They're expendable.
Yeah.
I actually look across the table to the other table and snap my fingers twice to get their attention.
Okay, yeah.
And
you see Cordelia is the first to notice, and she smacks Fergus.
I give some quick hand signals for hit the roof. Hit the roof, look for anything weird in the alleys. We're going out the front.
Okay, she signals back. Do you want us to keep pace with you?
Best you can. Don't let Fergus fall into the alleys.
She by the way, she does this after she pays attention. She immediately just kind of looked away, and so it doesn't really look like she's paying any attention to you. Most of her hand signals are under the table, and she simply just sort of smacks Fergus hard across the face, and when he like gives her this angry look, she goes, "Work," and then the three of them don't even finish their drinks; they just get up and leave.
So I'm just like a little bit of hand signal, and they.
Yeah. And now the message is just like, you hold the stone to your ear for a moment. You can kind of like hide it in your hand, sort of do this. Nobody else could hear this, so it was really just an exchange between you and.
I toss the note out of the table, and I say, what was his name? Corvielis.
Corvielis, yeah. It really wasn't even signed, but I mean,
I'm like, Corvielis is hunting us.
Why? What did we do?
Oh, maybe
got him his wife back.
I'm like, well, maybe those really weren't his children.
Yeah, we probably shouldn't have gave him fake eggs.
Well, I think that was going to go bad if we didn't.
No, I agree. For the time, it was okay. We just need to strike down this dog.
His note says that the north gate comes down tonight. Supposedly it would be from underneath since it's from kobolds. My guess is between here and the north gate, we're going to get ambushed.
Is he right on top of your mic?
Yeah, I'm holding him right now.
On your mic?
He's got this fever. Is like, I don't know what it's from. Most likely from this freaking ear infection. But what happened to your? Yeah, then we thought it was kicked. Well, I think it's a combination of both because he's like chomping on everything.
Oh,
I mean,
he's teething.
I mean, really, shit. We already have a 7th player. We're going to be adding an 8th. When you think about it,
I'm like,
it's true.
I pull a couple more coins out of my pouch, and throw them at the bar. A couple more gold coins, and I'm like, more drinks from John Mala, hero of Redspan, is off to save the city again. I say, and I get up. I'm like, come on, guys, let's go.
All right. Okay, so
can you stop being loud?
I'll try. For fuck's sake, I'm the DM. All right, so you guys get out on the road, or in the streets. You probably within a couple of blocks, Iona, you hear a whistle from up above, and like a bird call.
Crow call.
And you take a quick gander up, and you see that Cordelia, she like here, and then she points to like an area, it's like one street over from you, and then
I'm like, we got 2 kobolds on the left side on the next street over.
So what do you do?
I'm like, this is gonna happen.
I run after him.
You're like, next street over, and so you just take off?
Yeah.
Is that the case? All right. Yep. I mean, he just charges. What do you guys do?
I don't think he can read sign language. Thankfully.
Well, no, he just I mean, but I
Someone
said
said
out loud
there was
to the group,
targets.
we got
Oh.
two the next street over, and the barbarian just runs off down the alley. There he goes.
I follow
stands
after him.
Dude, you should know better than to announce that with the barbarian in your presence. I scold you.
Do you now have fast movement? I think you do. No, not yet.
It's
don't have that.
next level.
That's right. That's my barbarian in the other game. Sorry, I'm like mixing up campaigns and shit. Thank God, at least they're all in Greyhawk, or I'd be like talking about like bones and sand and shit, or whatever. Of course, I haven't run a Dark Sun game in 20 years. Hey, speaking of which, quick side note. This was announced a few months ago. Did you guys hear that I think one of the next properties from old AD&D or 2nd edition that they're going to work on is Spelljammer?
Boo.
Whoa,
Right?
yeah, all right.
Right? You're only upset with that because you really, really wanted it to be Dark Sun.
Hell yeah. So does everybody else. Every time
Everybody else does too, yeah.
yeah, every
No,
time,
no.
every
It's
time,
Spelljammer.
every time a poll pops up on the D&D group, Dark Sun's always at the top every damn time. But yet,
All you do is try not to die from dehydration. That game fucking fails. That's all it is whether or not you can fucking find water. That game sucks ass.
You can do that on any world. Just put them in a desert. Greyhawk has deserts.
Hey, well, one thing I'm going to say is that, I mean, my Greyhawk games always had Spelljammer. So you know where this is headed. Rock and brawl, baby. Rock and brawl.
I like it.
I mean, I all I care about is that we eventually run an Earth Dawn campaign, because the lore in D&D pales to Earth Dawn.
Oh, you're gonna piss off the 2 viewers that we have.
Oh, nice. Well, maybe they just need to be educated on how great Earth Dawn is.
Oh yeah, I got to run more campaigns. Yeah, yeah. I am maxed on campaigns. We finish this or decide mutually that we set it aside in favor of something else before I do any other games. That's just the way.
Oh
it is.
no, I mean,
It
I
was
really I'm in love with my character, so I would like to play this until the end. But you know, in 10 years, 15 years down the road, when we finish this campaign, then you know, we'll play Earth Dawn 10th edition. So.
Okay.
So we all chase the barbarian down the alley.
Oh, you want to get back to the game? Okay, all right.
yep.
Okay.
I scold Iona as we're running after him. You should know better.
Okay. So
I yell ahead, Radric, don't kill both of them. Keep one alive.
Okay, so Rajic, you're like, okay, he says one street over. You start running. You see an alley. You cut through it. Are the rest of you just like shit and start following him?
Yeah.
Pretty much our only option. Yep.
Okay. Now, I mean, you have the ability to get out ahead of him if you want to.
Why would I want to do that at this point? It's just a fucking train wreck of disaster on the way.
Right.
It's just a train rolling down the track to a wreckage.
Choo choo.
All right. So, Rajic, you come bursting out from an alleyway, knocking a pile of refuse off to the side loudly.
Okay.
And you're like looking for these guys, right?
Yep.
Make a perception test. Unless you just want to run and just use your passive. It's up to you.
No, I'll look.
Okay. So you kind of pause for a minute, scan the area.
Nice.
Oh God. Okay.
Right.
You see a dark sort of small area. You're like, you know what? I mean, I'm looking around. That could actually house a couple of kobolds, as small as I know they are. Sure enough, they pick that particular patch of shadow to hide in. They see you come around the corner, burst out of the alleyway, and they start booking.
Javelin.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like, what was the movie Mars Attacks? That's what kobolds sound like.
We come in peace as they're like murdering everybody.
Like gooifying people. All right, Reg. So you kind of jog forward a little bit, kind of